So we're back on the Integra. Where we left off last week was we were trying to get this car to start, and it definitely wouldn't start. But what I did figure out is that I think the coils were in the wrong position, because I made this harness and it was a little bit long, but I think these two coils are backwards. So Andrew is going to pull out the spark plugs and we're going to get some new ones on order. Then we'll check spark so we know which cylinder is correct, and then figure out how to label it down the line. All right, so the plugs came out looking pretty bad, no surprise there. So we've got another fresh set coming. Once we get the fresh set coming, we'll go ahead and we'll plug them into the coils themselves, and then we'll check the spark. So we got it to start for a second. It just started, sputtered, and died. We tried it again, and the battery ended up being too weak from our testing last week. So we've got the battery on the charger, but in the meantime, what we're going to do is we're going to start mounting the fuel pump relay. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to see if we can partially pull this panel out a little bit so we can mount the new fuel pump relay here. Alrighty, so we got the Andrew got the fuel tank situated, obviously. So the interior back there is back together. We actually went over and checked a couple other things. Fuel pressure, we don't know where it's at. We just kind of blindly set it there. I'm waiting on some more wire to get the fuel pressure gauge or fuel pressure sensor wired up. But in the meantime, we did get timing synced. So it took a little bit. We couldn't see the mark on the crank pulley, so we had to white out and make a ghost mark on it. But right now the car actually seems to be running okay. So let me hop in, and I would fire it up, but I don't have the key. Nothing. So right now it's actually on crank only, and it's actually running pretty damn good. So we're running a 24-2, so there's 24 teeth, 2 are missing. And like I said, the distributor is completely unplugged over here. So it's just now here as a massive cap, if you will. And it's not doing anything anymore. And it starts up pretty damn quick without having a cam sensor, which is pretty impressive in my opinion. So super duper happy with that. But it is, keep in mind that it is wasted spark still. Now it is sequential ignition, but it is overall wasted spark. So now what we've got to do at this point is get fuel pressure hooked up. We'll get it hooked up into the ECU, get that all set up, and then from there we can actually start dialing in the fuel. And so anyways, so far so good. It seems pretty happy right now. Like, as you can see, the fuel map is just something that I kind of threw together, but it's running and idling pretty good. Temperature's a little bit on the high side, but we'll let it go ahead and cool down, and we'll check it all over to make sure it's all good. That's fine. So we did a smoke leak test, and down below the intake manifold there's a leak down here. We're gonna have to try to tighten that up, but that seems like to be the only leak. It's kind of hard to tell though, just because there's a lot of smoke that's coming up from underneath. So we're gonna have to try to tighten that down, and then we'll perform the smoke leak test again, and then we'll go from there. I got the fuel pressure sensor hooked up. I've got it routed and poorly wired up as per usual. And so what we're gonna do now is we're just going to hook it up to the computer, and we are going to calibrate fuel pressure. And so this one is going to, let's see here, it's going into volt 4. So we'll go ahead and calibrate that. The good news is that the sensor is a WHP 10 bar sensor, so it's a linear sensor, meaning that it's really simple to calibrate. It's literally 0.5 volts is 0 and 4.5 volts is 10 bar. So it's pretty straightforward to hook up. But we're gonna go ahead and get this all situated and dialed in. That way we can troubleshoot any other further problems that we may or may not have. So we got fuel pressure set up. It's 200 kPa. It needs to be 300 kPa. I'm gonna go ahead and come out here and play with this dial here to get it dialed in and make sure that the vacuum hose is not hooked up to it. Yeah, so we're gonna unplug the vacuum hose here off the intake manifold, and we're basically just kind of through this, and then check our fuel pressure to see where it's at. And we're just gonna keep doing that until we hit about 300. And look at that. One full turn puts us at 300. Okay, so unfortunately we can't get the car to idle anything below 2,000 RPMs, and you can see that the idle valve is completely shut. I have the idle base screw on the throttle body completely shut as well. So there's a small adjustment on the throttle body here that you can adjust in and out for idle. So it's that screw right there is completely shut, and if I cover the throttle body completely, it should technically die. But as you can see, that it's actually idling pretty well even with the throttle completely covered with my hand. Ow! So I think the idle valve is just completely bad. It's something that we've kind of suspected from just some time ago when we started working on the car again. But unfortunately, I don't think there's anything else I can do at this point. Like I said, the throttle valve is completely shut. You can't. That's it right there. So it's not even cracked open or anything like that. And like as you guys saw, if I covered the throttle body completely, it should have died, or the idle should have came down like aggressively. But right now, as you can see, that even with it covered and the ECU not commanding the valve to be open, it's just idling 2,000 RPM. So unfortunately, I think this is really it for us. I don't think there's anything else I can really do at this point until we can get this whole idle thing situated.